What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC. With Charlotte, we have Jailton Almeida, Jairzinho Rozenstruik in a very, very good main event, a 13-fight card to talk about. We are here on a Sunday, as always, and we're here with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to UFC Charlotte?
Yeah, there's some really bad fights on this card, but there's some really good ones too. You know, we're going to be able to find some spots on this card, some debuting fighters. We got the much anticipated return of Mandy Bohm. It's going to be a pretty good one, man. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you in the chat here.
Yeah, I just bought my tickets for UFC Charlotte today. They weren't too expensive, so that was good. The plan is to wake up at like 4 in the morning and just drive straight to Charlotte. So I'm gonna be pretty tired, but it's gonna be worth it. I think it's better than pulling an all-nighter. So I'll be there live in attendance. Should be a very fun card. What we're gonna do first is a quick recap of last night. Weezy, I'll let you kick it off. Any thoughts on last night?
Okay, so last night, my bets were total trash, absolute trash. 1 unit on Phil Hawes. He gets deaded in the first round by somebody who's not known for his power. I had the Jandiroba by submission prop. You know, she got her takedown. She had her opportunities there, but that didn't work. I had Braxton Smith by first round knockout, which was his only win condition. That didn't work out. I had a 2-leg parlay with Nchekwo's money line and Drew Dober's money line. And congratulations to Matt Frevola in front of his home crowd for cracking the chin of Drew Dober, something he said he would do. And then he went out there and actually did it, something that, you know, I think a lot of people thought he was crazy for saying he was going to be the first person to knock out Drew Dober, but he did it. I had a 3-leg parlay that did cash, though, Brady, and it was like the chalkiest, most like mainstream, you know, like the kind of parlay that I hate doing, and like you'll get shaved if you do this most of the time. 3 legs, still juiced, but it was the Evloev money line. The fight doesn't start round 3 for Porter and Smith, and the fight doesn't go to decision for Holmes versus Ribeiro. And then, you know, I had an under 4.5 rounds in a Bilal Muhammad fight, which in retrospect is just moronic. Who bets unders in Bilal Muhammad fights? And then I had the under 4.5 rounds for Cejudo versus Sterling. Neither of those violence bets in the co-main and main even came close to cashing. So, yeah, it was a really rough night for me. Down 2.69 units. Definitely just looking to recap and recover and get back on another winning streak this week.
Yeah, it was a lot of weird outcomes. So for me, I did finish up a 0.29 units, so which was nice, I guess. Coming off of 2 pretty big weeks for me, I missed a lot of bets. I had a lot of bad reads. I had a lot of bets though. All of them being plus money, which I think helped quite a bit. Outside of one where I laid chalk, and the one I did lay chalk on was the Porter Smith fight ending by knockout, which probably should have been a max bet there. What saved my night, though, was Kennedy Nzechukwu. I had the inside the distance and the round 2. Ultimately, that put me up there. But yeah, lots of misses, lots of swings and misses. But the Kennedy inside the distance round 2 helped me out. And then the Parker Porter finishing helped me out as well. I was going to come on here today and I'm sure make a couple funnies about maybe the Crone Gracie performance or the Braxton Smith performance was pretty funny. It looked like he just completely just gave up in that fight. But I don't have a ton of energy tonight, Weezy. I went to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I woke up at 7, and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I just taped the whole card. So I'm ready to go for the show. And I was gonna take a nap today, but every time I close my eyes, man, I just see Jessica Andrade, her leaked OnlyFans pictures. I came across them earlier this week, and it's one of those things where you look at it and you just can't stop looking at it. You just stare at it. You zoom in on it. It's like it's hypnotizing you. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to have to go and see. And there's a lot of pictures out there. There's a lot of leaked pictures out there, and they're horrible. I don't know what's worse, Jessica Andrade's OnlyFans or the performance Crone Gracie put on last night. I mean, they're both bad, and they're both something I never want to see again. So if I am not as energetic as usual, it's thanks to Jessica Andrade. I mean, some of the worst experience of my life. So was not able to get a nap in. running off of a couple hours of sleep, but we are here. We are breaking it down. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to breaking it down. I do want to shout out the chat. Let's start with we got a dono, Ricky Chow with the dono 1999. I added Ribeiro Holmes fight doesn't go on Weezy's recommendation instead of Andrade Jan fight starts round 2. There you go. Save my 3K parlay. Heck yeah, good stuff, Ricky Chow 1999. Appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, I know. That's my exact reaction. It's like ew. Like ew. Oh, and then I don't even talk about it. Let's change the subject. Mike in the chat. We got only one. We got our Uncle Weezy in the chat. We got Kalu. We got Dylan. We got Victor. We got only one. We got Mikey. We got Spencer. We got Sean. We got Small. We got Mushroom. We got Lou. We got Ricky. We got Matt. We got Activate. We got Jared. We got Sub. What is up, everybody? All right. Let's get into this card, Weezy. What do you say?
Let's do it, man. This is an interesting one.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to start with the first fight on the card. We got Jessica Rose Clark going against Tainara Lisboa. We got Rose Clark, 35 years old, 5'5" with a 64-inch reach. Lisboa, she is 32 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Lisboa, she's 3 years younger. It's going to be Lisboa with a 1-inch height advantage and then a 2-inch reach advantage. Jessica Rose Clark is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Decision loss against Pandy Kanzad. Knockout win against Sarah Alpar. A decision win against Jocelyn Edwards. Submission loss to both Stephanie Egger and Julia Stolyarenko. As far as Lisboa, she's making her debut. And I went and watched the tape on Lisboa. And Weezy, how many times do we get tricked into watching these fighters who have just fought and beaten nobody? And they look really good. Lisboa looks so good. She has solid wrestling. When she gets on top, she's very dangerous. She has good ground and pound. She's able to get into mount. She's able to get submissions. She looks really, 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 really good. And then you look at her level of competition, and this is some of the worst wins I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is Jordan Wright type level of competition. In her losses, she has fought some decent competition. Like, she did lose to Norma Dumont, but in her win, she's fighting like 0-0 fighters. I think the best fighter that she beat was like 0-1. So she's just beat nobody. So yes, she looks really good on tape. She does have a Muay Thai background. Apparently she was like a Muay Thai champion. It's just, there's so many question marks. You know, how's she going to fight against somebody that's an actual fighter, let alone a trash can, like she has been fighting. So every time she's fought somebody not a trash can, she loses. So I was expecting to see the Jessica Rose Clark money line much wider, honestly. But apparently people really hyped on this Lisboa, and I get it. To an extent, she looks very good, but I just don't want to get too excited because she is going out there just beating terrible fighters. So, Weezy, what are your thoughts on this opener here?
Yeah, you got to really look at through the lens of who is she fighting when you watch the tape on her. Because if you just watch the tape without knowing who her opponents are, you're like, okay, striking looks pretty good. And even though she's not really initiating a lot of takedown attempts, every once in a while she'll get a trip and get on top. And when she gets on top, she stays there and she lands a ton of ground and pound, and she looks very competent from there. But let's first just start talking about the advantages for each fighter. With Jessica Rose Clark, she's got more overall and UFC experience. So 13 more fights, 210 more minutes in the pro cage, almost 4 more years as a professional mixed martial artist, 8 more UFC fights, over 90 more minutes in the octagon, as Lisboa will be making her debut on Saturday. Jessica Rose Clark's the much better wrestler. We've seen Jessie use her wrestling to win minutes plenty of times at the UFC level. And then the strength of schedule is way, way, way better for Jessie here. The 5 girls that Lisboa has beaten have got a combined professional record now, not at the time that she beat them, but now, of 2 wins and 11 losses, Brady. I mean, she's beating seamstresses and soccer moms out there. Now, Lisboa is 3 years younger. She's 1 inch taller, and she's got a 2-inch reach advantage. She's got 100% finish rate, but she's finishing nobodies. Solid, powerful striking. She throws in combination, bad intentions with power. So she's definitely, I think she's got a Muay Thai background, because when you look at her Tapology profile, you see that she lost to Valentina Shevchenko in a Muay Thai bout back in 2010. And then she also had one canceled in 2012 against Julie Kitchen. So she was fighting professionally on the Muay Thai scene prior to becoming a mixed martial artist. So striking is Lisboa's base, but I'm not sure what she's doing in the UFC. She's making her debut at the age of 32. She's never beaten anyone that could even be close to being considered UFC quality. She got rear naked choked by Norma Dumont in her pro debut, and she showed piss poor submission defense in that fight. She's fun to watch, though, is Lisboa. On the feet, she does appear to have solid, powerful striking, but we'll have to wait and see how that translates at the UFC level. I haven't seen anything in Lisboa's ground game to lead me to believe that Clark can't out wrestle her and easily win a decision victory. And even on the feet, Jessica Rose Clark's a pretty solid kickboxer, so I don't think Lisboa will be that much better than her on the feet, if better at all. But we do know that Jessica Rose Clark has got 21 takedown attempts in 8 fights. She's gotten 11 of them, and she's out controlling her opponents 35% to 15%. So, she's winning about 70% of her control time positions, and about half of her fights are taking place in those control time positions. So, yeah, I got Clark here. I got Clark by decision. She should win this fight. And it's not like Tanara is like this 26-year-old prospect. She's already 32, and she hasn't beaten anybody. And the only time that she's fought any decent fighters, Norma Dumont, and then somebody named Lorani Santos, who's actually 6-1 right now as a professional. But I don't really think Lorani Santos has really beaten anybody that you would consider to be a great fighter. So, yeah, it's an interesting way to open up the card here, but I'd be surprised if this wasn't Jessica Rose Clark and Jessica Rose Clark easily.
Yeah, let me ask you this: Is Jessica Rose Clark a trash can?
Well, she's made some trash can decisions, but I'm not sure that in this fight that's going to necessarily be something like, I don't think her fight IQ puts her into any places where Tanara Lisboa is that much better than her. So I would say no.
Then I think Lisboa gets it done. But I'm not betting on. Betting on this fight just doesn't seem like the best idea in the world. But yeah, people are betting Lisboa though. Jessica Rose Clark is currently minus 133. She went all the way down to like minus 205 at one point. So Lisboa went all the way to plus 175. She's down to plus 113. So maybe people are really down on Jessica Rose Clark, and rightfully so. You should be after getting armbarred back to back like she did. But completely different matchup here. I think Rose Clark does get it done, but not a fight I really see myself being too invested on.
Yeah, agreed. The last time that she lost like a real striking based battle was against Pani Kianzad, and Panny's extremely experienced as a professional fighter as well as a Muay Thai fighter. So, yeah, I like Clark here. I don't think this line is even close to wide enough.
Yeah, I was expecting to check the line and it'd be like minus 200 something, but nope, it's kind of close. So we'll see. We'll move on to the next fight. We have Bryan Battle going against Gabe Green. We got Bryan Battle, 28 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Gabe Green, 29 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. We got Bryan Battle 1 year younger. Bryan Battle with a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Bryan Battle is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Gilbert Urbina, won that fight by second round sub, won a decision against Tresean Gore, knocked out Takashi Sato in the first round, and then lost a embarrassing decision against Renat Fakhretdinov. And then Gabe Green, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, made his debut, I believe, on short notice against Daniel Rodriguez, lost that fight by decision, showed a lot of toughness there. Beat Philip Rowe by decision. Beat Johan Lioness by knockout, and then lost a decision to Ian Garry. And yeah, these guys are pretty similar to me. Both these guys are just absolute dogs. Like Bryan Battle, he has great cardio, great toughness. He's going to be there for the entire fight. He's not going to give up. And the same thing with Gabe Green. Gabe Green's a dog. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw a lot of volume. He's extremely tough. He has great cardio. Both these guys are pretty similar here. And the line's pretty close. This is one of the closer line fights on the card. Weezy, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this is a fun one, man. So with Bryan Battle, you got a guy who's a 1 year younger, 3 inches taller, and has a 4-inch reach advantage. So I love the size on Bryan Battle. And then when you look at those distance striking numbers, Brady, it's a smaller sample size, but it's really impressive. Better minute winner at distance striking range for sure is Bryan Battle in this fight. A positive 5.09 distance striking differential. per minute. So every minute, I mean, he's landing 5.09 more distance strikes than his opponents do. So a lot of volume, a lot of accuracy, and great defense and footwork for Bryan Battle. Gabe Green lands 1.46 less distance strikes per minute than his opponents do. 52% accuracy for Bryan Battle at distance. 43.5 for Gabe Green. And both guys have bad distance striking defense, but it's Green's who's worse by 3%. Now, Gabe Green overall, he's got more experience than Bryan Battle and a little more UFC experience as well. As Gabe Green's got 5 more fights, 30 more minutes in the pro cage, and over 3 more years as a pro fighter, 16 more minutes in the octagon for Gabe Green. He's got the better finish rate as a pro. Gabe Green, 91% finish rate as a professional compared to 75% for Battle. And then we've got he's the better submission grappler is Gabe Green. He's got more than half of his pro wins by submission. And we've seen the wrestling and top control of Rinat Fakhretdinov really expose Battle's ground game. Green is more efficient and dangerous when this fight gets to the ground, in my opinion, Brady. And then the strength of schedule advantage also goes to Green at the UFC level. He's fought and beaten the better level of UFC competition thus far. So on paper and in the numbers, I see this fight as being pretty binary. If it stays on the feet, Bryan Battle's got great volume, really good accuracy, a lot of diversity of weapons. But if it gets to the ground, Gabe Green is very dangerous there hunting for submissions. I like Battle's reach. I like his length. I like his youth and his volume while it's standing. And he's got that size advantage as well while it's standing. But if Gabe Green does commit to the wrestling and grappling in this fight, he could win minutes and even potentially moments on the ground. Fights start on the feet, though, and I don't know if I can count on Gabe to really wrestle here because we haven't seen him be a really aggressive wrestler at the UFC level, as we see that Gabe Green has only attempted 6 takedowns in 4 fights, and he's only controlling his opponents less than 12% of his UFC cage time. So I've got to pick Bryan Battle to win this fight, and I think he'll probably win it by decision because both of these guys are pretty durable.
Yeah, I landed on the green side just because he has a clear path to victory. I mean, it's clear as day. Bryan Battle, just terrible takedown defense, terrible get-up game. Gabe Green, brown belt, and he has cardio to do so for 3 rounds to wrestle. So I like Gabe Green, but like you said, is he going to wrestle or is he not going to wrestle? We'll have to see. But if he does, he's gonna win this fight pretty easily. Looks like Gabe Green is the favorite. He opened up as a dog actually, plus 105. He's now minus 130. And then Bryan Battle opened up as the minus 125 favorite. He's now plus 110. Over under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 165. The under 2.5 plus 135. Both these guys are dangerous, but both these guys just next level tough. So probably does go over. So money is coming in on the over as we speak there. Any thoughts on the money line? Any thoughts on the total?
I kind of like Battle here because I don't know if we can count on Gabe Green to wrestle. And if he doesn't, I think Battle's going to win the minutes at distance here. And Battle will even wrestle a little bit as well. And he's got some decent submissions of his own. But yeah, we'll have to see if Gabe's fights smart, because there is definitely a path for Gabe Green here. So it depends on, it's up to Gabe to see how this match goes. Because I think if you just let Bryan stand, he'll just continue to stand because he's longer, because he's probably a little bit faster, and because he throws way more volume. So I like Bryan Battle here. I think I'm even looking at that money line because I could see some more money coming in on Green. If I could get Battle at plus 125, plus 130, I think I'm going to pull a trigger.
Yeah, it does look like more money will probably come in on Green throughout the week. I think he's a pretty popular play this week from what I've seen thus far. So we'll see. But don't have really any interest in this fight at this moment. Not running to the window to bet on Gabe Green, although I think he has a really clear path to victory. But like you said, I don't know if we can trust him to do it. So I'm going to pass on it as of now. Yeah. Speaking of passing, Weezy. Speaking of passing, we have Ji-Yeon Kim going against Mandy Bum. We got Ji-Yeon Kim. What do you call? What's her nickname? Missing Fist, or was it
Missing Fist? Yeah, well, it's actually Fire Fist. That's what her friends call her. I call her Missing Fist because she couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
So her striking accuracy before the Cachoeira fight, it was like 29%, something like that. It was like terrible, and now it did improve after the Cachoeira fight for obvious reasons, but still, my goodness. But anyway, we have this fight. It's rebooked. We broke this down already. Let's break it down again. We have Jeon Kim, Mandy Bohm. Jeon Kim, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. Mandy Bohm, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Same age there, same height, and then Jeon Kim is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Jeon Kim 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Knockout win against Nadia Kasim, a decision loss to Alexa Grasso, a decision loss to Molly McCann, a decision loss to Priscilla Cachoeira, and then a decision loss to Jocelyn Edwards. As far as Mandy Bohm, she made her debut against Lipsky, looked like crap, and then she fought Victoria Leonardo, looked like crap. Me and you, I think you as well, Weezy, had a underdog bet on Victoria Leonardo, and she went out there and made it look pretty easy. Don't bet on this fight. I mean, Jeon Kim is a massive favorite. Jeon Kim is a massive favorite, and she's 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Jeon Kim is a massive favorite, and she, like we just said, couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. She misses a ton. She's going to hit the air more than she's going to hit Mandy Bohm here. And Mandy Bohm actually does have a path to victory, and that path to victory is getting the fight down to the mat. We have seen it in the past where Jeon Kim's takedown defense does not look great. I think even on paper, it's 42%. So in theory, maybe Mandy Bohm can take her down. On the feed, it's Jeon Kim, and it's maybe it's not even close, but she's going to be doing a lot of missing. But at least she's going to be active in terms of the missing, which is probably going to trick the blind judges into thinking she is landing. So yeah, on the feet, you do favor Jeon Kim, but Mandy Bohm, outside the UFC, she has shown some good things. She has shown some good grappling. It's just inside the UFC, she's shown just piss poor wrestling. So I don't think Mandy Bohm gets the takedown. I think Jeon Kim keeps it upright, and I think Jeon Kim wins the decision here. But laying minus 250 on Jeon Kim just sounds like the dumbest thing ever. Does she win? Probably. But is it worth not being able to sleep at night? Is it worth, having to look yourself in the mirror if it loses? Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine Weezy laying minus 250 to minus 300 on Jeon Kim and her like losing a split decision? Could you imagine? I would quit. I would never show up again if that happened. So I'm not betting on this fight. Last time it was booked, like people were putting like Kim in their parlays. Like I get it, bum sucks, but my gosh. 1-4 Kim and your parlays? I don't know. It's a pass for me, Weezy. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, oh God, it is such a pass. I mean, maybe if Jeon Kim was like minus 130, I'd bet her.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, at this line, this is absolutely awful. But if we're just going to look at the numbers and break the fight down, right? I mean, it's got to be Jeon Kim. It really does. Look at Mandy Bohm's distance striking numbers. She's awful, man. She's only throwing 10.31 distance strike attempts per minute, and her opponents are throwing 14.71. Already, she seems uninterested on the feet. She doesn't throw much, right? She gets outlanded by about 1.5 significant strike, almost 1.4, something like that, distance strikes per minute. And you see Jeon, she outlands her opponents by a tiny bit, but she outthrows her opponents. She throws about 3 more distance strike attempts per minute than her opponents do. So Jeon Kim is a lot busier on the feet than Mandy Bohm is. And Mandy Bohm couldn't fight her way out of a paper bag. So let's face it, is she going to really go out there and knock out Jeon Kim, who's never been dropped in her UFC career? And that's 9 fights in about 130 minutes in the cage. She's been in there with some decent, she's been in there with Alexa Grasso. She's the champion. She's been in there with Molly McCann. Cachoeira hits like a truck. None of these girls have ever dropped Jeon Kim. It's pretty safe to say that Jeon Kim wins this fight. But like I said, Brady, I still haven't gotten over laying minus 200 on Corey McKenna and then watching her not wrestle against Elise Reed. I mean, it's still one of the worst performances that's ever been made. But I promise you, every fucking time I see Corey McKenna's face anywhere, whether it's on my computer screen, my television screen, I am just flipping her the bird, telling her to fuck off, saying horrible things to who I'm sure is a very nice young lady who works really hard at what she does. And she's accomplished more in her 22 years on this planet than I have. So, I don't have any business talking that way to her, but that's what happens When you lay money, when you lay juice on women's MMA, and then it just goes tits up on you, you run into a dick saw giving your money to the bookie, it just sticks. It hurts differently than losing other bets. And the only thing that I can preach here is bankroll management is very important, Brady. The last 3 bets that I placed on the last card, the last ones that I forced, they all lost. Don't force bets. Don't lay juice on women's MMA. Bet on fighters, not against fighters. And you're breaking all 3 of those rules if you bet on Ji-Yeon Kim here. So just don't do it. Enjoy a nice book for 10 minutes of your life. Go for a walk and look at the blue sky. Take your dog outside. Tell your wife you love her and you really think that you made a great decision marrying her. Anything but laying money on this fight. Just don't do it, people. Life has so much more to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I will not be betting this fight. I would not even consider it. If you have to bet this fight, if you have like a serious problem and you have to bet it, people in the chat are saying the over. Yeah, why not? Because neither of these fighters are good enough to finish the other one, right, Weezy? So over 2.5, it's minus 325. It's chalky, but it's probably gonna hit.
Yeah, neither one of these ladies has ever been finished, So, yeah, I mean, I suppose, but then you're betting this fight.
Exactly.
And if Ji-Yeon Kim goes out there and knocks Mandy Bohm senseless, are you really going to be that surprised? Because Mandy Bohm sucks. With all due respect, Brady. And usually when you say with all due respect, whatever follows that is very disrespectful. In this case will be no different. With all due respect, Mandy Bohm doesn't belong here.
Yeah, I like
Not
that.
in the UFC.
I like that.
Not in the UFC. I think she'd probably go 1-3 in Invicta.
Yeah, which is weird because I remember watching tape on Mandy Bohm, and like outside the UFC, she actually looks solid to me, but probably a level of competition thing, I guess.
Yeah, probably, dude. And it's not really her fault because we're seeing a lot of these type of ladies all of a sudden be in the UFC, and we're asking ourselves, what the fuck is Arina Alexeva doing here? What is Tainara Lisboa doing here? What is Tamaris Vidal doing here? What is Ramona Pasquale doing here? I mean, we could go on and on and on, couldn't we? I mean, like the entire women's, part of the UFC is kind of like the men's heavyweight division. You can get there like Braxton Smith and just be not very good at MMA, but still wind up here.
Yeah. Casey saying, well, now I feel bad. I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like if you have to take a money line side, it's got to be the dog.
If you're getting the plus side, yeah, I mean, I guess, but I'm just not doing it because it's not really about whether I cash or not. It's about the mental, like problems that are going to happen should it go tits up. And it goes tits up all the damn time, Brady. Let's face it.
All the time.
On women's MMA.
All the time. Yeah. So, yep. Oh my God. I just realized I'm going to be at the freaking event, dude. And I got to maybe go get a snack during the fight or maybe a bathroom break. Oh my gosh. This is not good.
Yeah, dude, like step outside and just, look, be like, hey, North Carolina, Brady's here, and just just enjoy life, breathe that fresh air. This spinning rock that we're on that hurtles through space. There's a lot of wonders on this rock, Brady. A lot of great things, a lot of great stories. This fight, not one of those great things, not one of those great stories. So this is your opportunity on Saturday to do something else for 15 minutes.
Let's go. I like it. All right, Weezy, we're going to talk about another fight that we've talked about before as well. We got Natan Levy going against Pete Rodriguez. We got Natan Levy, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Pete Rodriguez, 26 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. We have Rodriguez 5 years younger, same height, same reach. Natan Levy is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Had a third-round sub win on the Contender Series, made his debut against Garcia, lost the fight by decision, and then he beat Mike Breeden and Genaro Valdez by decision. Pete Rodriguez made his debut, I believe on short notice against Jack Della Maddalena, got knocked out in the first round, and then he knocks out Mike Jackson in the very first round. So yeah, we talked about this before, Weezy. This is going to be the first time that Pete Rodriguez is cutting down to 155, which is very important to mention because he had to pull out. He had to pull out of the last fight, which was just like a couple weeks ago, due to, I think, weight cutting issues or some type of issue on his side. So That's not good. So he still has to cut down to 155. We got to see him on the scale here, but I think, Natan Levy's favored for a very good reason. We've seen him in a second round. He has the grappling path here, but Pete Rodriguez does have a lot of power, and he's going to be live for an early knockout, kind of like Braxton Smith last week. Like Braxton Smith, he was live to go out there and knock out Parker Porter, but he only had like a 60-second window. But I give Rodriguez a couple more minutes more than that. But still, Rodriguez, if he does win this fight, it's probably going to be in the first round. I like violence in this spot. I think me and you, I know I did for sure, had the under 2.5 as a parlay piece, or even played it straight. I'm going to be looking at doing that again. I think this fight does finish fairly early, whether it's a Pete Rodriguez knockout or Natan Levy gets his fight down to the mat and exposes Pete Rodriguez on the mat. And I like violence even more, especially since Rodriguez had to pull out last time. He is cutting down to 155 for the first time. Just another reason to like violence. And I think it was one of our favorite spots that week. I think it was a couple weeks ago. So, Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, we've already broken this one down. And yeah, I love the violence side here, because with Pete Rodriguez, you got a guy who's got a 6-fight pro career, and that 6-fight pro career has lasted about 9.15 minutes. Okay. So you got about 1.5 minutes average fight time as a professional for Pete Rodriguez. We've never seen him outside of the first round as a professional, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and we don't really know much about his ground game. However, it is important to note that Rodriguez had an amateur career too. I think at least 10 fights. So he's been into the second round a couple times in 3-minute rounds, and we've even seen him go to decision once as an amateur. So I bet the under 2.5 in this fight. I like it at anything better than -200.
Yep.
I also bet Pete Rodriguez by first round knockout when that opened at +1,000 on Bet Online the last time this fight was supposed to happen. I can feel confident that when this fight is on the feet, Pete's going to be trying to take Natan's head off, and that he absolutely has a chance to do that, because we've seen Natan Levy get put on skates a number of different times. And this is on the regional scene against guys that aren't necessarily UFC level. I mean, Ben Lugo was this close to finishing him. And I think if other referees were in the cage, we would have seen Levy lose to Ben Lugo. So Pete Rodriguez is absolutely live for a knockout. But the one thing that I really don't know is, how does Pete Rodriguez look when you take him down and he's put on his back? There's no tape to see what that looks like. And we know that Natan Levy can go out there and grapple 15 minutes with guys like Rafa Garcia, who we know is legit. He's the real deal. So it's a pretty clear striker versus grappler matchup, even though I think that from what we know on tape, Natan Levy is probably a better striker than Pete Rodriguez is a grappler, because Natan's got kind of an interesting style to deal with. He's a traditional martial arts background, actually a kung fu background. So you're going to see, him standing kind of sideways, bouncing up and down, in and out, using his kicks to maintain range. So might be hard for Pete Rodriguez to close the distance here, but I'm going to be looking to make those exact same two bets, Brady. Pete Rodriguez by first round knockout, and the under 2.5 rounds at -200 or better.
Yeah, same here. So I do want to look at it. So Bet Online, they have the totals out, but they don't have the fight goes and doesn't go. But Five Dimes does have it. I'm curious to see where they put this. So the fight doesn't go. Oh my goodness, man. The fight doesn't go. They have it at guess.
And for Five Dimes?
Yeah.
So they're usually got pretty good line. Please tell me it's not something like -175, and I'm gonna have to bang my head against the desk.
You're pretty close. -195. I would love that line.
I would love that line too. I would love that line. We
So,
might find out that Pete's got a ground game and he can hang on the ground. We might find out that he has a gas tank too. But with his first cut down to 155, Brady, it's got to be violence here.
Especially after pulling out due to weight cutting issues. So then he has to cut weight again. So yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense to me. The under 2.5 they have at -150.
Wow, the under 2.5. Okay, yeah. That's lovely.
And then
I would smash that line.
Yeah. So Levy's a big favorite. You got to favor him, but yeah, like you said, if we can get like Rodriguez KO1 around plus 1,000. Why not? Like that's his win condition.
Absolutely. And that's how he's won all of his professional fights. So why not try it? Last week I actually bet Braxton Smith by first round knockout at plus 340.
Yeah.
So if you can get the same win condition from the same type of fighter at plus 1,000, that's so much better of a bet, and I even bet on the Braxton Smith line. It didn't work out, but we knew if he caught Porter was going to go down. So, and it's the same situation here. And when you watch the regional scene footage on Levy, you're going to see he gets sparked. He gets hit. He doesn't have the best striking defense. And on paper here, it's 61% at distance, which is pretty good.
Yep, for sure. I think it's worth a shot. I think the Braxton Smith KO was worth a shot. And we can't say he didn't try for at least 30 seconds. He tried.
He gave us the old Bob Sapp game plan. I'm going to give you everything I got for 30 seconds.
Did he try to take down Parker Porter?
What's that?
Did he try to take down Parker Porter? Or
yeah, I think that's when he realized he was done. And when we were on Pub Sports doing the live stream, and when he shot that takedown, I went, "Oh, it's over. It's over." I knew if Braxton Smith was trying to take down that it was over, and it was over like 10 seconds later.
It was like a refrigerator just fell down, and he just laid there. Just laid there. Wild.
Yeah, I mean, like he's a refrigerator on the feet, but he's even more of a refrigerator on the ground because he is not getting back up.
No, he had no interest in getting back up. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Braxton Smith can do in the future. Apparently, he just like joined a gym like a week ago or something crazy like that. So he wasn't even like training with a team or nothing like that. So
yeah, Black Sheep Boxing or some shit. And I was like, what is Black Sheep Boxing? Who are these people? And then you saw the picture that we were showing last week. And it's like, if he's training with that guy, is Parker Porter a lock? But then you're like, it's a heavyweight fight. All it takes is one shit. So I'm glad that my money, I only had a half unit riding on that fight. And that was a half unit too much for me.
1/3 of my action was on that fight last night. 1/3 of my action, and I felt bad about it all week. Like I couldn't sleep at night.
But, yeah, well, I mean, you put that much action on a Braxton Smith fight, and then you actually accidentally see Jessica Andrade OnlyFans fight. You're probably not going to sleep for a while, my friend.
No, it's been a rough couple days, but we will get through it, Weezy. All right, let's move on to a really good fight, Weezy. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this one. We have a striker versus striker matchup. Carlos Ulberg going against Ihor Petaria. We got Ulberg, 32 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach. We got Petaria, 26 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. We got Petaria, who is 6 years younger, with a 1-inch height disadvantage and then a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Carlos Ulberg is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a knockout win on the Contender Series in the first round, got knocked out by Kennedy Nzechukwu. In the second round, he won against Fabio Cherant by decision. He beat Tafon Nchukwu by first-round knockout, and then he knocked out Nikolai Negumereanu. As far as Petaria, he got a first-round knockout on the Contender Series, made his debut against Nikolai Negumereanu, lost by knockout in the second round, and then knocked out Shogun Rua. Carlos Ulberg is the second biggest favorite on the card here, and I get it. I don't think Ihor Petaria is that great. I remember we were talking in the last fight, the Shogun fight, where we're like, the UFC is trying their hardest to get Shogun a win. They're trying so hard to get him a win. Who are they giving him? They're giving him Ihor Petaria. Petaria was able to get the first round knockout, though, but now he's taking just a gigantic step up in competition against Carlos Ulberg. And Ulberg's starting to really get it together. After that Kennedy fight, we've seen some improvements, man. I mean, going out there and knocking out Nikolai Negumereanu, that speaks volumes. Nikolai Negumereanu has an absolute brick for a head. And when he starched him in the first round, that was shocking to me. This guy Ulberg has a ton of power. And as does Petaria, though. I think this fight finishes. I think the fight doesn't go. It's probably a solid parlay piece. I was even considering like the under 1.5 rounds. I think this fight does finish pretty early. I don't like the strike and defense of Petaria. I hate the cardio of Petaria as well. I think someone's getting served here, Weezy. Who you like in this matchup?
Yeah, I think somebody's absolutely going to get served, and that man's name is Ihor Petaria. I mean, Carlos, 1 inch taller, 2-inch reach advantage. He's got the UFC experience advantage with 2 more fights, 16 more minutes in the UFC cage, and he is by far, Brady, by far the superior striker. I mean, it's not even close. And the strength of schedule advantage also goes to Ulberg, as he's fought the much better level of competition. Now, Petaria, though, he's 5.5 years younger, and I see literally no other advantages for him in this fight. I see this being a complete whitewash. Petaria runs into a dick. Carlos Ulberg absolutely just dismantles this kid and probably does it under 1.5, under 1.5, under 2.5. Fight doesn't go. Ulberg by KO. Ulberg inside the distance. If Ulberg loses this fight, he is fucking dead to me. And I don't even have any money on him because I'm not about to lay minus 350. But dude, if he loses to this Petaria kid, I mean, it's over. There's just levels in striking here. And I mean, like, this guy Petaria looks garbage on the feet. And then when you watch these guys that he's fighting on the regional scene, I mean, what are these promotions? The International Pancration Federation? Who the hell is Georgi Kubashvili and Georgi Lobhizande? If you watch these fights, you would be like, you got to be kidding me. These guys are professionals, and they actually had other fights. You know, the Ukrainian regional scene is really bad. It's really bad. That's where Petaria comes from. This guy Ulberg trains at a real camp with real kickboxers, with champions, and you know, they say that this guy's the real deal. If Petaria wins this fight, I'm going to be completely perplexed.
Yeah, well, it is a fight where it's going to take place on the feet, and Petaria does have power, so it wouldn't like completely shock me. But Ulberg's the much better fighter, and it's not even close. So he's a big favorite for a reason. And if you're starching Nikolai Negumereanu in the first round, I think he probably starches Petaria, who's going to give Ulberg the fight he wants. Like, Petaria is going to march forward like an idiot with no striking defense and probably get caught within the first couple minutes.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, like, that guy Negumereanu's head is like an Easter Island statue. So, you know, usually it's your hands that break first when you're hitting Negumereanu in the head. But
Exactly.
he finished him, you know, and like, he's, you know, if you think about if that fight got stopped, the Kennedy and Chekwu fight, I mean, Ulberg, they wouldn't have even made this fight. Ulberg would have been minus 1,500 if he beat Nchekwu. And I mean, that fight easily could have been stopped. So, yeah, man. I mean, this has got to be all Ulberg all day. I'm probably going to parlay him or do something with him, but yeah, he's got to win this fight.
Yeah, he's a big favorite. So he was like minus 300 last time I checked, but now he's minus 350. So money's pouring in on Ulberg. The fight doesn't go is minus 350. Was hoping for plus money on this under 1.5, but not going to get it. It's like minus 115. So I don't know. Probably, I mean, Ulberg inside the distance minus 150. So yeah, just all this. Nothing really sticking out from a prop perspective at the moment, but maybe more money will come on the over, but I doubt it. So I don't know. Probably going to stay away from this fight as of now. But like you said, maybe the Ulberg money line is a parlay piece. The fight, I'd be fairly surprised if this fight did go the distance. Like, it would make no sense. I know the Fabio Charant fight went the distance, but that was more so Fabio just not doing anything. Whereas Petaria, he's actually going to try to do stuff, although he's not that great at doing it. So I think Petaria does get caught, and the fight doesn't go, should be a solid one.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and that's, you know, Petaria doesn't fight like Fabio Charant does. Fabio kind of fights like William Knight, you know, he kind of just waits for a gigantic mistake and tries to land one big shot. But, you know, Petaria does throw a lot of volume. So I do think that we will see him engage Carlos Ulberg, and when this becomes, you know, which guy is the more accurate and technical kickboxer, it's going to be Ulberg.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Let's keep moving on. Before we do so, if you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Me and Weezy go live every Sunday for some Stat Diggers. One of my favorite, if not my favorite show of the week. Moving on. We have Cody Stamann going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. We got Cody Stamann, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach. Douglas Silva de Andrade, 37 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We have Stamann 4 years younger. It's going to be Silva Andrade with a 1-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Cody Stamann is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Jimmy Rivera. Decision loss to Murad Dvalishvili. Submission loss to Saider Magomedov. A knockout win against Eddie Wineland. And then a decision win against Luan Lacerda. As far as Douglas Silva de Andrade, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. a decision win against Renan Barão, a decision loss against Lerone Murphy, a knockout win against Gaetano Perillo, a submission win against Sergey Morozov, and then a pretty competitive decision loss to Said Nurmagomedov. So, yeah, this is a pretty close fight. I think it's one of the closer line fights on this card. We have Cody Stamann, who's going to probably have the volume advantage in this matchup. We have Douglas Silva de Andrade, who's going to absolutely have the power advantage in this matchup. I'm sure Cody Stamann's probably to come in here trying to take down Douglas Silva de Andrade. Yeah, see, this is a really close fight, Weezy. Are you seeing it any different way, or you have a strong lean? What do you like in here?
I think it's close too, dude, because Stamann's 4.5 years younger, and that definitely matters in the bantamweight division. And on paper, Cody Stamann is the better minute winner at distance striking range. He's got a positive distance striking differential, about positive 0.44, and it's negative 0.04 for Andrade. So Andrade is right there, 50-50. And then Cody has the better distance striking accuracy at 43.6% compared to 38% for Andrade. And he's got the better distance defense, does Cody Stamann, 64.5% to 61%. And Cody's definitely the more committed wrestler. We know that, right? He's averaging 2.47 takedowns per 15 minutes. Andrade only gets 0.68. And he's also winning 65% of his control time positions, while for Andrade, it's only 39%. Cody's fights are in control time positions over 31% of the time, while for Andrade, it's about 18% of the time. So Douglas has done a solid job of keeping fights standing where he tries to land his power shots. And a very slight overall strength schedule advantage for Cody Stamann here too, Brady. 1.68 ratio compared to 1.53 for Andrade. 9.83 total fights overall for Cody Stamann, 9.18 for Andrade. So, a slight strength of schedule advantage there. Now, for Douglas Silva de Andrade, he's got a 1-inch height advantage, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage while this is on the feet. He's got the slight overall experience advantage, 7 more fights, 4.5 more years as a professional. He's the better moment winner on the feet, is Andrade. He's got 6 UFC knockdowns, and he's got 2 UFC wins by knockout. He's 4-0 in the UFC when he scores a knockdown, and he's 2-5 in the UFC when he doesn't score a knockdown. Solid grappling efficiency for DSDA. He's attempted 12 UFC takedowns, and his opponents have attempted 43. However, DSDA still wins 39% of his control time positions. Those opponents attempt 3.5 takedowns for every one that Douglas does. So DSDA is good at keeping fights standing where he's the most dangerous, right? And then the slight strength of schedule wins advantage goes to Andrade here, as his ratio at 1.08 is better than Stamann's at 0.97, and the total fights just slightly better at 9 compared to 8.71. So I feel as if Douglas Silva de Andrade is going to have to land big shots here in order to win. Cody should do a decent job of winning minutes on the feet and keeping it close there, while simultaneously mixing in the wrestling at the end of rounds to win minutes with his grappling. I think it's a very close fight because Andrade is always live to land big shots on the feet, but I have to lean Stamann here because I think he's the better minute winner wherever the fight goes. And even though Douglas Silva de Andrade is more explosive, and we both know that, Cody Stamann's never been knocked out in the UFC. And for that matter, in his 27-fight professional career, he's never been knocked out. And he's never even been dropped in the UFC in almost 150 minutes in the octagon. So I feel like Stamann, by decision, is the safest pick for this fight.
Yeah, I think it's a very close fight. All the finishing upside, in my opinion, is on the Andrade side. I don't see Cody Stamann finishing anybody outside of Eddie Wineland. And then it's going to go to decision, more than likely, right? And if it does, the judges, man. So are they going to favor the volume, the minute-winning ability of Stamann, or are they going to favor the one-punch big shot of Douglas Silva de Andrade? So I could see like a split decision type fight. And it looks like money is coming in on Stamann. We have Cody Stamann now minus 155. Douglas Silva de Andrade plus 135. Give me the plus money. I think it's a super, super close fight. I'm going to be looking at the potential finish only for Douglas Silva de Andrade as well. I guess the biggest question, Weezy, is which Andrade has the better haircut? Is it Jessica Andrade or is it Douglas Silva de Andrade? Very tough question.
Boy, yeah, because Douglas Silva on De Andrade almost single-handedly bringing back the rat tail, which is something that nobody ever wanted brought back. But if it's going to be brought back by somebody, it's going to be that young man because he rocks it pretty good. I mean, as good as you can rock a rat tail, I suppose. And then you got the blue hair of Jessica Andrade. I mean, I think I have to go with Jessica
Oh wow.
with
Okay.
her hair. I mean, it's a very. I mean, you could set your watch to that haircut of hers. And you know, she's equally as handsome as Douglas. So yeah, I'm going with Jessica.
There we go. It's a tough question, man. I went back and forth on that same question all day.
Well, that's one of the reasons why people tune into us here on Stat Diggers, Brady's, because we don't shy away from the tough questions.
No.
You know, we're not like politicians who talk around shit and won't sit there and give their real opinion on stuff. You and me, Brady, we don't have that problem, do we?
We don't at all. We have not a ton of props. I was curious to see what they had. Oh, they do. They have Stamann by decision, which is plus 160. I think that's much better than the money line. The fight goes to decision minus 180. Fight doesn't go plus 140. And like I said, Stamann now around minus 155. And then Douglas Silva de Andrade plus 135. So we'll see what happens throughout the week. But I think it's a close fight. I'll take the rat tail in this one to pull it off at 37 years old. But not sure if I'll bet it unless this line just keeps getting wider and wider. Then I might take a shot on him. All right, we have another fight that we have already broken down, Weezy. We don't need to spend too much time on this. Karl Williams, I think like the second or even the first, I think is the second biggest favorite on the card. Going against Chase Sherman. Karl Williams, 33 years old, 6'3", 79-inch reach. Chase Sherman, 33 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach. Same height or same age. We have Sherman with a 1-inch height advantage and then a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Karl Williams is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Had a decision win on the Contender Series against Jimmy Lawson, and then beat Lucas Bresky by decision his last time out. Chase Sherman is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Parker Porter, a submission loss to Jake Collier, a submission loss to Alexander Romanov, a knockout win against Jared Vandera, and then a decision win or decision loss against Waldo Cortez Acosta. Williams is a big favorite for a reason. You probably don't want to ever lay like minus 400 on a heavyweight fight, but he just has a clear path to victory. We saw what guys like Jake Collier did to Chase Sherman. Jake Collier took him down, got right into a dominant position, took his back and choked him out within like a minute. We saw what Alexander Romanov did to Chase Sherman. So Karl Williams should have no problem taking this fight down to the mat. And when it does hit the mat, Chase Sherman is just a fish out of water off of his back. So should be Karl Williams all day. Very disappointed for a couple reasons, Weezy. The first reason is, oh my gosh, on DraftKings for this fight, I was like 100% owned on this fight. I had like 60-some percent Karl Williams, maybe 70%, and even had a lot of Chase Sherman as well, just because if he would win, he'd be solo owned. It would be like a first-round knockout, but super high on Karl Williams on DraftKings. And they announced the fight was canceled like 1 minute after lock. Yeah. And then on top of that, I had like the under 2.5 rounds at plus money. And then this time around, the under 2.5 is like minus 150. So I'm not going to be betting on this fight unless, I don't know. But yeah, Williams should get it done. Chase Sherman's ground game is terrible. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we can only go by what we've seen on tape from Chase Sherman in terms of his ground game. And, you know, I'm sure it's getting better. I think he's it shows Jackson Winkler, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Chase Sherman might be in South Florida now, actually training over there at like Kill Cliff or one of those South Florida gyms. So he's going to be getting better, I suppose. He's 33 years old as a heavyweight, that, you know, which means that he's going to do in terms of his overall mixed martial arts game. And Karl Williams is, you know, 1-inch height advantage for Sherman, 1 reach advantage for Williams, but this is straight striker versus grappler. And frankly, Karl Williams can really wrestle. You know, Chase Sherman, I worry about Williams if he's facing, like if he was facing like a Martin Budai type, a guy who cuts weight to make 265. I'd worry about Karl being able to take that dude down and hold him down for 3 rounds.
Weezy, are you there? Uncle Weezy. Uncle
Sherman
Weezy.
stopping the takedowns. Karl.
Am
Am I
I am
back?
I am I frozen or is Weezy frozen? What's going on? Weezy, are
I
you
don't
there?
know who was frozen, man. Oh, okay. So it was me. It looks like me. It was shows on my end. It was showing my thing kind of flipping around. So I think that was me. My
I think
internet
you're
actually went down for 15 minutes yesterday.
I think you're back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, frankly, I like Carl Williams here, Brady. And you know what? The same shit is going to happen this week as happens every week. They're going to copy us. Everybody else is going to come out of the woodwork saying they like Carl Williams this week. But we were the ones that told you first. You heard it here first on Stat Diggers. Carl Williams wins this fight. Everyone else is going to copy us now.
Yeah. I know it's definitely a hot take, and I have a hot take for the main event too, but we'll talk about that when we get there, Weezy.
That's what we
All
do.
right.
We give them hot takes, Brady.
Yes, sir. All right, we're gonna get to a weird fight, man. We got Matt Brown going against Court McGee. We have Matt Brown, 42 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. Court McGee, 38 years old, 5'11" with a 75-inch reach. Court McGee, 4 years younger. Matt Brown with a 1-inch height advantage, same reach there. Matt Brown, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Ben Saunders, a knockout loss against Miguel Baeza, a decision loss to Carlos Condit, a knockout win against Diego Lima, and then a decision loss to Brian Barberena. Court McGee, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights as well. He had a decision loss against Sean Brady, decision loss against Carlos Condit, a decision win against Claudio Silva, a decision win against Ramiz Brahimaj, and then a knockout loss to Jeremiah Wells. I guess the big thing that sticks out here to me is Matt Brown's 42 years old. He just turned 42 a couple months ago. Court McGee, he's getting up there as well at 38, but he is going to be the younger guy here. I got to pick Court McGee just due to the fact that I think he has a clear path to victory here, and that path to victory is going to be just mixing in the takedowns. Court McGee has actually been looking really good his last couple performances outside of that Wells fight. Like, I thought he looked really good, and even the Brady fight, I thought he looked really solid. Against Claudio Silva, I thought he looked really good. Against Ramiz Brahimaj, he was an underdog. I thought he looked really good there. And then he gets starched by Jeremiah Wells, who, as we know, hits like an absolute truck. I don't think he's going to have to worry about that here. But yeah, Court McGee should win this fight. He should wrestle. He's going to have the much better cardio. He's very tough, very durable. I like Court McGee to get it done, but I think he's a pretty big favorite here. So you never really want to lay this much chalk on Court McGee. Somebody you always want to kind of back as an underdog. So probably a fight I'll be passing on, but the pick for me is Court McGee. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah. So, I mean, I very rarely have to give this disclaimer before any of our fights, Brady, but my data only goes back to 2013. So these UFC stats that you see for not only Court McGee, but for Matt Brown as well, are only from 2013 on. So the overall records are correct. Court's 21-11. Matt Brown is 23-19. But both of these guys are 7-8 in the UFC since the year 2013. 200 minutes in the cage for Court, about 150 in the cage for Matt Brown since 2013 in the UFC. Interesting divergence in stats here. Court McGee has finished none of his 7 wins in the UFC since 2013, and Matt Brown has finished every single one of his 7 wins. 100% finish rate in wins in the UFC since 2013 for Matt Brown, 0% finish rate for Court McGee. So maybe we might be able to catch a finish-only prop here on Matt Brown. That's close to where the line is, which is actually close to 50-50. So let's keep an eye out for that. But Court McGee has actually been a little more durable than Matt Brown, as Court's only been finished in 2 of his 8 UFC losses, but Matt Brown's been finished in 4 of his 8 UFC losses. So while this is at distance striking range, Court McGee will probably be the better minute winner, but Brown will definitely be the better moment winner. Brown lands those elbows. He's got a lot of power. He's landed 4 knockdowns since 2013, and Court McGee has landed 2. But the big difference here is that Court McGee has attempted 110 takedowns in these 15 fights that he's had since 2013, and Matt Brown has attempted 34. Matt Brown loses about 61% of his control time positions. Court McGee only loses about 17%. So I think that where this fight where we see the biggest gap anywhere in this fight is Court McGee's ability to be able to win minutes with the wrestling. But let's not forget, just 4 fights ago, Brady, Court McGee attempted 0 takedowns against Carlos Condit, a dude who has 39% career takedown defense in the UFC. So you can't lay juice on Court McGee. I'm sorry. You just can't, because he might do something fucking stupid and not grapple here. Because if he doesn't grapple here, this fight, he's not going to look minus 150. He's not going to look minus 180. He's not going to look minus 200. He's probably going to look like an underdog or a 50-50 favorite who's maybe throwing more volume, but he's probably not going to be landing the more damaging strikes. So Court has to fight smart. And I think that the only way he looks the price is if we see him grappling in all 3 rounds, getting Matt Brown down and fighting his fight, because he should want this win bonus. Both of these guys should want this win bonus at this point of their career, because the clock is ticking on both of these guys. But the biggest difference between the two of them is the wrestling, is the grappling. Court's elite there at the UFC level, and Matt Brown is not.
Yep, I mean the path is there, but yeah, that Condit fight, it's puzzling still to this day. Carlos Condit, some of the worst takedowns you'll ever see in the UFC, and I don't think he even attempted 1 takedown, did he? Maybe 1. I don't even think 1 though.
He might have. I can take a look, but I mean, it was such a bad fight IQ performance, one of the all-time worst. Because the one thing that I was talking about during that fight, or before that fight, Brady, was how incredibly efficient Court McGee has always been at the UFC level in grappling positions. This guy always wins minutes there. He's fought some of the best grapplers in the history of the sport at 170 and 185 pounds, and none of them style on Court McGee, ever. Never been submitted in his entire career. 32 fights, 362 minutes in the pro cage, 15 UFC fights since 2013. This dude's never been submitted. So, yeah, he needs to get the fight to the ground and operate where he does really good work, and where Matt Brown's work is below average, I would say.
Yep. McGee opened up plus 140 for some reason. He's currently minus 210, and at minus 210, I just have no interest at all, at all. But it's a very winnable fight, as long as he fights smart. Matt Brown plus 180. Yeah, passing on this one.
Yeah, me too. I mean, at this price, I would bet Brown before I would bet Court McGee, but I think Court McGee could absolutely look minus 210 if he goes out there and he wrestles in all 3 rounds.
Yep, he definitely could. We will see if he does that, but yeah,
it's a big if, baby. It is a big if.
It could be. Sometimes counting on these fighters to fight a smart game plan. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes it doesn't. It feels great, but sometimes you're betting on Lupe Godinez, hoping she wrestles against Angela Hill, and it just never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this one. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We have this is going to be a banger, man. This is actually probably my pick for fight of the night. This fight's going to be fun. We have Tim Means going against Alex Morono. We got Tim Means, 39 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Alex Morono, 32 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Morono, 7 years younger. He's going to be at a 3-inch height disadvantage and a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Tim Means is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision wins against Staropoli, Perry, and Dalby. A submission loss to Kevin Holland, then a decision loss against Max Griffin, which says it's a split, but I don't know how any judge could score that fight for Tim Means. It was pretty clearly Max Griffin. Alex Morono, he has 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Donald Cerrone. Decision wins against Zawada Gall and Semmelsberger, and then a knockout loss against Santiago Ponzinibbio in a fight where he dropped Ponzinibbio in every single round and then eventually got caught with a couple minutes left in the third. I really question where Tim Means is at. I really do. Tim Means has had 30 or 48 fights now. This is going to be his 49th fight. He is now 39 years old. He's taken a ton of damage. This is a guy in Tim Means who A couple years ago, I was saying this guy's stupid tough. He's stupid durable, and then all of a sudden he gets flatlined by Nico Price, and then he gets rocked multiple times by Daniel Rodriguez, and then he's getting rocked by Kevin Hall, and he's getting rocked by Max Griffin. I think the durability is really starting to diminish here with Tim Means as he's approaching his 49th fight at 39 years old. I mean, that's expected here. He's taken so much damage throughout his career, and now he's focusing on things outside the cage. He's a wrestling coach. He's focusing on that. You take a look at his Instagram; it's all wrestling. He's focusing on that, it seems. So I'm not really sure how much longer Tim Means has left. This might even be his last fight. And if this is not his last fight, I think his last fight is coming very soon. I've always been a huge Tim Means fan. I like this guy a lot. He's a black belt, well-rounded guy, solid wrestling, offensively, defensively, love the volume, love the power, very exciting fighter, always in fun fights, but I think the damage is really starting to catch up on him here. Alex Morono, younger, I think that's huge here. He's younger, he's tough, he's durable. He has power as well, and I think he potentially finishes Tim Means here. I think Tim Means' chin is really starting to go here. So I like Alex Morono, pretty decent-sized favorite, but I think he goes out there and gets the job done. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight? I think this fight's one of the best fights on the card.
Yeah, I mean, Morono always delivers, and Tim Means is very rarely in boring fights. I think we'd have to go back to the Staropoli fight to find a real stinker with Tim Means in it. So, but yeah, dude, once you get to the point where Tim Means is at 39 years old, 48 professional fights, 370 minutes in the pro cage, over 6 hours of this dude's life he's spent in a steel cage in his underwear fighting for his life. 19 years as a professional, and I believe we haven't I don't think Tim Means fought in the UFC before 2013, so I think we've got all of his experience. Wow. 24 fights, 250 minutes in the UFC cage. And we know, Brady, as this is not a sport that has happy endings. As you get to those numbers, 48 fights, 19 years as a pro, 250 minutes in the UFC cage, there's that point of diminishing returns where you really have to have really good reasons to find reasons to bet on those type of guys, especially when they're facing off against somebody 7 years younger than them. Somebody who's been in there with guys like Semmelsberger and Ponzinibbio and kind of clowned on both of them. It wasn't until he got caught in the third round. I mean, if he won that Ponzinibbio fight and he was winning the whole fight up until he got caught in the third, I think Morono would be a lot bigger of a favorite right here. And if Tim Means is coaching, I wrestling wrestled here. Shit, man, Tim Means could fight. Maybe if that's what he's doing, maybe if he's coaching wrestling, he'll maybe want to put some of that to work in the cage here. And him having that 3-inch reach advantage, that 3-inch height advantage, he mixes in some wrestling against a guy with 53% takedown defense who only wins about 37% of the control time positions he's been in. I think it could be a good way for him to win some minutes here. In terms of strength of schedule, Tim Means has fought the tougher guys, but it's Morono who has the better wins, and that's very important here. And in terms of distance striking range, these guys are almost identical. They both have a very similar distance striking differential. They both throw more attempts than their opponents do. The accuracy a little bit better for Means. The defense a little bit more better for Means. A little more power for Means. Yeah, does Tim Means have anything left at the tank at this point? Probably not much. I think that Alex Morono should win this one. He probably wins it by decision. But what did you say the line was?
He's like minus 200.
Yeah, that's what's Morono by decision on 5 dimes?
Morono by decision is plus 145.
Maybe that would be a pretty good way to look at it. I mean, Tim has been finished in 5 of his 11 UFC fights. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This one feels like a stay away for me, especially because it's so hard to rely on fighters that have gotten to those milestones in terms of fights, cage time, years in the game as Tim Means, and when Tim Means has even been in jail. So the guy's had a rough run. He's been doing a very difficult job for 19 years now.
Yep. Yep. I think he is on his way out the line. It makes sense to me. And I will be betting on Alex Morono some type of way. And I think the finish is super live as well. So we'll see how I play it. But I like this spot a lot for Alex Morono. Just not sure how either A, invested Tim Means is, and then B, if he has anything left in the tank. He's been getting hurt in like all of his fights. Like he got hurt a ton in the Max Griffin fight, got dropped in the Holland fight. He got dropped in the D-Rod fight. He got dropped in the Price fight. I mean, the guy's durability, I think, is not once what it was. So we'll see. Morono, pretty big favorite. I think it's deserved. All right. Moving on to another fight. We got Mackenzie Dern going against Angela Hill. We got Dern, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach. Angela Hill, 38 years old, 5'3", with a 64-inch reach. Dern, 8 years younger. Dern with a 1-inch height advantage, a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Mackenzie Dern is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against the very handsome Verna Jandaroba, a submission win against Nina Nunez, a decision loss against Marina Rodriguez, decision win against Tisha Torres, then a decision loss against Yan Xiaonan. As far as Angela Hill, she has 2-3 in the last 5 fights. Decision losses to Torres, Lemos, and Jandaroba, and then a decision win against Lupita Godinez, and then Emily Ducote. Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie Dern is a fighter that I've not. I used to always pick against, but I think she's starting to make improvements. Like her striking looks so much better than it did, when she first got into the UFC. She's made so many improvements with her striking. It's still not like amazing and nothing like that, but she hits really hard and it's improved leaps and bounds. So I like that. Her wrestling is something that always really frustrated me. It's pretty bad, but she's making some improvements and it's looking a little bit better than it once has. So she's working on that striking. She's working on that wrestling. And as we know, she has that top-notch BJJ, probably the best grappling in the division. So she's going against Angela Hill, who, on paper has great takedown defense. On paper, she has great striking. On paper, she's going to have the striking advantage. But Mackenzie Dern, like I said, the striking's improving. She's landing big shots nowadays. And if she gets this fight down to the mat, it's her world. Whether she's pulling guard, whether she takes down Angela Hill, if she gets this fight down to the mat, she probably subs Angie here. So, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Dern. I know people like her a lot, but I actually do like her in this matchup, and I'm going to take her to win this fight probably by, I think she submits Angela Hill if she gets her down. So I'll say the submission for Dern. I'm not laying like chalk on or nothing like that. I think she's like minus 180, but I think she does win this fight. Angela Hill, 38 years old now. I don't like that. And I think Dern gets it done. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, striker versus grappler. So Hill's going to want to keep it standing. Mackenzie's going to want to get it to the ground. Mackenzie, 5 of 44 on her takedown attempts, 11.36 takedown percent, and she's controlling her opponents about 27% of her 123 minutes in the cage. So not bad. She's winning about 70% of her control time positions. But, Angela Hill, 77% takedown defense. She's seen 100 takedown attempts in her 22 fights. So over Angela Hill's illustrious career at the UFC level, where she's fought as many fights as any other strawweight that's ever been in the UFC, she's seen game plans where ladies try to take her down. And we just saw, just to do a little bit of MMA math here, Angela Hill lost to Virna Jandiroba. And we just saw Virna Jandiroba do the same exact thing that she did to Angela Hill to another striker in Marina Rodriguez just yesterday. Win that fight easily by getting that fight to the ground in all 3 rounds and dominating on top. Mackenzie Dern could not win the minutes against Marina Rodriguez on the ground. She couldn't get the fight to the ground long enough in order to win the fight. Same thing when she fought another striker in Yan Xiaonan, who I think a lot of people, including me, were on Dern there because they're like, well, if Carla Esparza can finish her on the ground, then Mackenzie Dern can get a submission. But Dern got her down a couple of times, was unable to find the submission. And I think that's the key here is like when somebody like Mackenzie Dern or Virna Jandiroba takes you down, don't try to get back up. You lost the round. Don't lose the fight, though. Don't give them your back. Don't do anything defensively stupid. Don't panic. Just let them lay Just let him lay there. Don't make any mistakes. Don't let him set up any submissions. And I think Angela Hill showed that she could do that against Virna Jandiroba. Virna had her in some tough spots. And Virna didn't just depend on getting takedowns, did she, Brady? She had to pull guard once in order to get that fight to the ground, go for a leg lock, use that to sweep to get on top. She actually did that beautifully against Marina Rodriguez as well yesterday. So Mackenzie Dern's got some work to do. We need to see her either start to pull guards successfully, start to take her opponents back standing successfully, or just start to wrestle better. And she absolutely has to pressure nonstop on the feet. If she pressures, she's going to put herself into positions where she can get her opponents back to the cage and then either chain wrestle or get in the clinch, pull guard, get to the back, whatever it is she needs to do to get this fight to the ground and use her better grappling pedigree. We're just not seeing enough evidence of her being able to do that. So I think I'm going to actually go with Angela Hill here. I'm interested to see how Mackenzie fights this fight. I want to see her continue to pressure, which I think we've been seeing her do. But I need to see that wrestling get better. I need to see more urgency to try to get fights to the ground without looking like what Kron Gracie looked like yesterday, just kind of looking sloppy and desperate with no plan B. So I think Mackenzie's still growing. She's still got to get her striking better. Her wrestling needs to get better. And if she can improve those two parts of her game while constantly pressuring, I think she can be really, really good. But we're just not seeing it all come together yet for Dern. And as a result of that, I think I'm going to pick Angela Hill to win this fight by decision.
Yeah, I mean, Hill pick absolutely makes sense. You can make a case. But even if Hill does win, she probably gets robbed on the judges' scorecards. But yeah, I'm not laying minus 187 on Mackenzie Dern. So Dern minus 187, Angela Hill plus 162. I'm probably going to play the inside the distance prop though. But yeah, I won't be laying on any chalk on Dern this week. I always pick against her. I think the first time it was like picking Dern was against, who was it against? Marina Rodriguez. I picked Dern and she lost there. I just can't get Dern fights right ever. So maybe I get this one wrong, but I'm going Dern here. Anything you say, like maybe like the Hill money line for you, Weezy, or maybe split
maybe Hill or Hill by decision, because like Hill's really not finishing anybody with her striking. She doesn't have crazy power or anything like that. And we've seen Mackenzie Dern be a punching bag for 3 rounds and never give up. She's tough. She's durable. So yeah, I think Angela Hill, but I think even better would be like screw plus 160 on Hill. Let's shoot for plus 250 on Hill by decision. That's a lot more bettable. Then we only got to throw maybe a half unit on it instead of a full unit.
You wish it was plus 250, Weezy.
What is it?
Plus 645
for Hill by decision.
Yep, on 5 times. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I hope Bet Online comes through with a nice fat plus 600, but I got a feeling it's going to be like plus 175. Those pricks doing that to us, Brady, making us wait for them to open props and then doing us like that with all we do for the MMA community, Brady. And what do we ask for? Nothing in return, except for maybe smashing the like, hitting that subscribe, and leaving us a comment below. Other than that, we don't ask much. So let's see if Bet Online tries to tease us into betting that Hill by decision and gives us a plus 675. I would get that.
That's just wild. Like that's just wild line. Yeah, I'd be on that too. But yeah, Bet Online will give us a nice plus 160. It'll be like what the money line is for Hill for sure. So we'll see though. All right, Weezy, we have a few more fights left. We have Ian Garry going against Daniel Rodriguez. We have Ian Garry, 25 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach. Daniel Rodriguez, 36 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. We have Garry, who is 11 years younger, 2-inch height advantage, same reach there. Ian Garry is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Jordan Williams, won that fight by knockout, beat Darian Weeks by decision, Gabe Green by decision, and then beat Song Kanan by knockout. As far as Daniel Rodriguez, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, decision win against Perry, knockout win against Preston Parsons, a decision win against Kevin Lee, a decision win against the Leech, and then a submission loss to Neil Magny. So yeah, we have Ian Garry as a pretty big favorite here. Lots of hype on the guy. Very young, very good fighter, very, very good fighter, Ian Garry. I remember being very impressed with him, watching fights outside the UFC. And, since he has came into the UFC, he is undefeated. Some flaws in the Jordan Williams fight. He didn't look that great. Williams getting tagged up a little bit, got the knockout. And then he was like a -7, 800 favorite against Song Kanan, gets dropped in the first round, almost finished in that fight. So I guess that would be the one concern with Ian Garry. His striking defense is pretty bad. He leaves his chin up in the air. He can get caught. He can get hit. So I think that's kind of the one flaw. If he can improve that striking defense, I think he's going to be a serious problem. He's only 25 years old, and I think he can. So, but yeah, I see this as being a pretty competitive fight. Daniel Rodriguez throws a ton of volume. Very good striker, and this is a striker versus striker matchup. I don't really see either guy going for takedowns here. If they do, I don't see either guy being successful. I think this is a fight that's going to take place on the feet, and a fight that probably goes the distance as well. So yeah, I see this being kind of a close one, but the line doesn't really indicate that. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, so okay, we've got Ian Garry being 11 years younger here than Daniel Rodriguez, so and 2 inches taller. So that's about what the advantages are for Ian Garry. Yet he's a almost 70% implied to win this fight, despite the fact that Daniel Rodriguez is more experienced, 9 more fights, 3.5 more years as a pro, 80 more minutes in the cage. Daniel Rodriguez has more UFC experience against high-level competition, 5 more UFC fights, over 50 more minutes in the UFC cage. Daniel Rodriguez is the better finisher as a professional. Daniel Rodriguez is the better grappler. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt training under Eddie Bravo. But Daniel Rodriguez has fought, beaten, and lost to the much superior competition over his career. Ian Garry's a really slick striker, but so is Daniel Rodriguez. So really what I kind of see here, Brady, I mean, like maybe I'm being a little bit rash, but I kind of feel like when you see like those analytics on UFC, when the fights are saying, they'll tell us Ian Garry's 11 years younger, and as a result, the guy who's 11 years younger wins 64% of the time, right? Well, right now, Ian Garry's about 70% implied. So you're overpaying based on him being the younger fighter and the analytics that say he wins about 64% of the time. But like, look at those distance striking numbers, right? Ian Garry lands 7.72 and absorbs 4.63. So it's about a positive 3.09 distance striking differential. Well, Daniel Rodriguez has a positive 2.89 distance striking differential. Daniel Rodriguez throws about 4 more distance strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. So does Ian Garry. Gary's a little more accurate. Rodriguez a little more defensively responsible. Similar power numbers. 4 knockdowns for Rodriguez, 3 knockdowns for Ian Garry. But my point is, if Daniel Rodriguez's distance striking numbers are just as good as Ian Garry's, but Daniel Rodriguez has been out there against Neil Magny, Li Jingliang, Kevin Lee, Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby, Dwight Grant, Gabe Green, and Tim Means. Well, the guys that Ian Garry's fighting, Song Kanan, Darian Weeks, Gabriel Green, and Jordan Williams. So if the distance striking numbers show that these guys are on par with each other, and we know that Daniel Rodriguez is more experienced, fought the better brand of competition, and the better submission grappler, why is Ian Garry minus 240, other than the fact that he's younger and maybe and probably a little bit better footwork, a little bit slicker on the feet? He's prettier to watch than Daniel Rodriguez, frankly, on the feet. But other than that, I think that this is a very close fight, and Gary's going to be fighting a southpaw here.
Yeah, I mean, pre-tape, I thought it'd be going Ian Garry, but Such a close fight to me. It is a very close fight that's going to take place on the feet at range. Daniel Rodriguez is going to be the guy that's much tougher. I mean, Daniel Rodriguez is tough as they come. I was actually really surprised that Neil Magny was the first person to ever finish Daniel Rodriguez. I thought it would never happen, but Magny was able to sub him. I don't see that happening here, obviously. So if there's a finish in this fight, I think it's probably D-Rod knocking out Ian Garry, who has piss poor striking defense. So yeah, plus 230 now for Daniel Rodriguez. And then we have Ian Garry minus 270. So massive favorite in a fight that honestly probably does go to decision and probably very, very close and competitive as well. In a fight that probably can go either way. So in a fight like that, I gotta go with the plus money on D-Rod here.
Yeah, me too. And I have kind of have a feeling that this is at the end of the night on Saturday, Brady, going to be one of those bets where I'm already on Daniel Rodriguez. I've got one unit on him at plus 205, but I feel like it's going to be a good bet that doesn't cash, because I kind of feel like even if Daniel Rodriguez does kind of win the minutes and should win the decision here, Daniel Rodriguez is 36, Ian Garry's 25. They want that Irish audience for Garry. I think if it's close, the UFC brass just hands it to Garry because he's a guy that's got a lot more marketing potential going forward compared to Daniel Rodriguez, who's 36 years old. So, but I can't walk away from plus 205 when I've seen Song Kanan and Jordan Williams, frankly, outlanding this guy at distance, so I think that Daniel Rodriguez can absolutely do that too. If he can go, 3 rounds with Lee Jingling just like 6 months ago, coming off a long absence, and not get knocked out by Lee, I think he can handle Ian Garry and make this a very close fight where I'll be happy to be holding that fat plus money ticket when the decision comes in.
Yep, agree. It's a close fight. Does the plus money ticket win? Maybe we'll have to see, but I do think it'll be very close, much closer than the plus 230 indicates. I'd say I'd be shocked if Garry went out there and outclassed D-Rod across 3 rounds or knocked him out. I don't see it personally.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. He is 11 years younger. These guys are at 2 completely different places in their careers, but you just can't ignore the fact that D-Rod's fought the better brand of competition. He's way more experienced. He's the better grappler. There's a lot of things going his way here, and he's shown against much better competition at the UFC level that he can also accumulate very impressive striking metrics. So I think Rodriguez gets the fight that he wants here, and he's going to make this very close.
Yeah, and D-Rod has been in prison, whereas Garry hasn't.
That's right. And he's, we're going to find out if Ian Garry can take out an experienced prison fighter here.
Yeah, we will see. All right, Weezy. We have 2 fights left. Co-main event, and then the main event. We have Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker co-main here. Very good fight. We got Anthony Smith, 34 years old, 6'4" with a 76-inch reach. Johnny Walker, 31 years old, 6'6" with an 82-inch reach. We got Walker 3 years younger, 2-inch height advantage, and then a 6-inch reach advantage. Anthony Smith is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Alexander Rakic. Submission win against Devin Clark. Knockout win against Jimmy Crute. Submission win against Ryan Spann. And then a knockout loss against Magomed Ankalaev. As far as Johnny Walker, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Ryan Spann. Decision loss against Thiago Santos. Knockout loss against Jamal Hill. Submission win against Kudalaba. Then a knockout win against Paul Craig. This is about as 50-50 of a fight if I've ever seen one. I mean, this has meme written all over it with Johnny Walker. Like, this guy's fights are so tough to call. Really, Anthony Smith too, because Anthony Smith's a guy where I remember people were writing this guy off like, oh, he's done, he's washed. And like 3 years ago, people were saying he was washed, like after the Teixeira fight. And he's going out there, and in some fights he looks really good. And then in some fights, he just looks really bad and terrible. Like, Anthony Smith is so hit or miss. So for that reason, I think it's tough to call. And same thing for Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's chin is a major concern. Is it a problem in this matchup? Honestly, it could be. Anthony Smith does have some power, but I think somebody's getting served here. I think somebody's getting served here pretty early. I really don't know who wins. I think Walker has more power, but Walker's durability scares me. Anthony Smith's been finished a million times too. I think I like violence in this fight more than anything, but in terms of being confident on either side, I just can't be. This is not a fight I'll be betting from a money line perspective. Weezy, how do you feel about this co-main event other than it being very, very violent?
Yeah, it's going to definitely be. It's a Johnny Walker fight. So, I mean, outside of that just absolute stinker against Thiago Santos, this guy always brings it and is always in fun fights. And, I mean, Anthony Smith is a journeyman, man. I mean, you're talking about 53 professional fights, almost 375 minutes in the pro cage, 15 years as a pro fighter, 18 UFC fights, almost 190 minutes in the UFC cage. This guy is an ultra veteran, but my God, 17 professional losses on this guy's career. And he's been finished in over 80% of those losses. So imagine the shit that Anthony Smith has been through. He's been knocked out. He's been submitted. We're talking about let me see, so 3.4. So yeah, it's 14 times this guy's been finished in his career, and against middleweights and light heavyweights. So both of these guys have taken a bunch of damage, but Johnny Walker with this ridiculously low distance striking numbers, 5.5 distance strikes attempted per minute. That's the lowest I've ever seen. I mean, maybe Azamat Murzakanov was somewhere close to there, but he doesn't do anything on the feet. Smith will definitely be more active, and Smith's got a lot of power. I mean, we're talking about a guy with 7 knockdowns here in 18 fights, while for Johnny Walker, it is 4 knockdowns in 10 fights, but he's landing them on 2.44% of the significant strikes that he lands. It's about half that for Anthony Smith at 1.23%. It's always easy to bet against Anthony Smith when his opponent is, that they have the ability to wrestle, because Anthony Smith will never get up off his back. But with Johnny Walker, you got a guy who doesn't wrestle at all. 1 takedown attempt in 10 UFC fights. So this is going to be taking place on the feet. Both of these guys have been knocked out multiple times in their career. I definitely see this fight probably finishing under 1.5 rounds. And, like you said, somebody getting served and cashing the under 1.5 rounds, which is sitting right now at
juice.
How juiced?
Oh, like minus 140 around there.
Okay. Well, at least it's not as juiced as the line that I just saw open that I was waiting to pounce on all week. Wanted to get Anthony Hernandez over Edmund Shabazian. You know where Anthony Hernandez opened up, Brady?
Let me see. Minus 305?
You dick.
What? Yeah,
minus
I saw it.
305. Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. Minus fucking 305. I thought it might be minus 140, minus 150. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, and I think it already got smashed too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's already like minus 340, something like that.
Yeah, it's still minus 305 on Bet Online, but I mean,
there you go.
Not where I was expecting it to be, man.
Yeah.
So, damn it.
We could still play violence in that fight. That we could see Hernandez breaking Shabazian and finishing him in the second or third.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Because otherwise Shabazian probably lands a big shot or knocks him out to the body. So yeah, that'll be a great fight. Really fun fight.
Yeah, but about to pick him. Anthony Smith minus 105, Johnny Walker minus 115. What I don't like about Anthony Smith, like you mentioned, he has been finished a concerning amount of times. It's that striking defense. What is it? 42%, and then at distance it's 51%. I mean, terrible. So I'll say Johnny Walker lands a big shot, but Anthony Smith can land a big shot. So what I like is the under, and although it is chalk, it probably hits. I don't know if I'm going to lay it, but it probably hits. I think fight doesn't go is going to be minus like 500, 600. Under 2.5 is already minus 285. Some type of violence here makes a lot of sense. But in terms of a money line, I can't trust either of these guys. So I'm passing from a money line perspective. But I think violence is how I'm going to play this fight, some type of way.
Yeah, I kind of like Walker just because I think that he's so much more live to hurt Smith than the other way around. So, yeah, I mean, I'll go with Johnny Walker here. I think he gets the job done, gets it done by knockout in the first or second round. But, yeah, like you said, man, you can't be too confident in Johnny Walker. And we know that, Anthony Smith is a guy that's never going to quit. He's super tough. He's a veteran of the sport. He's fought everybody. So he'll have a good game plan out there. He'll know what he's doing. He'll make good choices. We'll just see if he can avoid the big shot.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Yeah, good co-main event. Looking forward to that one. And then looking forward to watching this fight that's going to last a total of 2 minutes. We have Jailton Almeida going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We have Rozenstruik, who is 35 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Almeida, 31 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. Almeida, 4 years younger. Almeida with a 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Rozenstruik is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Cyril Gahn, knockout win against Sakai, decision loss against Blades, knockout loss against Volkov, knockout win against Chris Daukaus. Jailton Almeida, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, had that submission win on the Contender Series second round, knocked out Danilo Marquez, submitted Parker Porter, submitted Turkali, and then knocked out the very handsome Shamil Abdurakhimov. This is a hilarious fight. This is a very hilarious fight. It's about a striker versus grappler as you're ever going to get. Rozenstruik has no grappling whatsoever. We saw Junior Albini get in the mount. We saw Junior Albini about take his back, almost submit him. I mean, if Junior Albini is almost getting out of there on the mat, what is Jailton Almeida going to do? Rozenstruik, we saw him get taken down by Overeem. We saw him get taken down by Albini, Blades. I don't think his ground game's good at all. And Almeida is going to have a significant advantage on the mat. When it comes to the striking, Rozenstruik's going to have a significant advantage on the feet. We've never seen Almeida strike, like ever. He apparently he said his striking's very good. He says this in interviews, but we never see it because he's shooting takedowns within the first 15 seconds. And he better do that here. Remember in the Shamil fight, Weezy? Shamil landed 1 strike at the entire fight, but that first strike that he landed a big shot on Almeida, and Almeida took it. But if Rozenstruik lands that big shot, he might go down. But I think Rozenstruik's going to have 15 seconds to land that big shot. Almeida's not going to mess around on the feet. He's going to take this fight down to the mat. And when he does, it's a wrap. It's over. Almeida's ground game is another level compared to Rozenstruik's. He's going to get into mount and pound him out, and he's probably going to take his back because Rozenstruik gives his back every time he tries to get up. So I see Almeida winning this fight in the very first round. The under 1.5 is juiced beyond belief, but rightfully so. And then the fight doesn't go is already minus 900 on 5 dimes, which is very generous with those lines. So on Bet Online, we're going to get it at minus 1,200, and then FanDuel's going to hit us with a minus 2,000 for the fight doesn't go. If this fight goes to decision, I won't be here next week. I will quit because it just would make no sense. It'd be the most shocking thing ever. So striker versus grappler matchup. Almeida, massive grappling advantage. Rozenstruik, a massive striking advantage. What's so funny to me is on paper, Almeida has like a 10% striking defense. Isn't it like 10%?
Yeah, I think it's 10%, man.
So freaking wild.
Yeah, dude. It's no, I'm sorry, no, 20% at distance.
Oh my gosh.
But like, yeah, actually, like the whole distance significant strike, he's actually got 0% striking defense because he did not defend the 1 strike on the ground.
Yeah, so if this fight's on the feet, Rozenstruik KO, and then Almeida is going to just run right through Rozenstruik. I don't think it's going to be competitive on the mat. So under 1.5 is actually a bet I'm considering, honestly, even though it's like minus 190. And then like the fight won't start round 2. I think is all on play here. I see this fight finishing early, and it's going to be hilarious as long as it lasts, I think.
Yeah, the under 1.5 open at minus 190, and it's already moved to minus 210.
Yes.
What do you remember ever seeing an under 1.5 at minus 210?
Maybe in like a McKinney fight. I don't even, or in the Pavlovich fight, it was only like minus 150, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, minus 210 is crazy. And you know, I have to say, dude, you've got to bet Jairzinho Rozenstruik by first round knockout. You'll probably get better than plus 1,000 on it. It's something you have to do. He's knocked dudes out with jabs. Okay. I mean, if Almeida just gets sloppy for a second and Rozenstruik catches something coming in, he could knock him out. He could knock anybody out. He's got serious power in his hands. So, I mean, even though the obvious outcome that I think most people would agree, Brady, is that Almeida gets the takedown, gets to this dude's back, and finishes him with grappling one way or another, arm triangle, rear naked choke, whatever, you know. But I mean, Rozenstruik is absolutely live, and since all the money's going to come in Almeida, why not throw down a 1/10 of a unit, something that you're not going to miss, a little bit of lunch money. Dude, you could throw down a 1/10 of a unit and win over a unit just on first round knockout, which is basically going to be Rozenstruik's win condition, or even second round if he lasts through the first. But if Jailton gets you down, you're not really making it out of the round, especially if you're Jairzinho.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is I'm gonna bet Rozenstruik, by first round knockout for a small amount. And other than that, might parlay that under 1.5 as well at even though minus 210, I think is the fattest. Even the Porter fight, I think, closed at minus 190. And that, when we talked about it on probability, was like minus 120, minus 130. And even we were like, you usually don't bet that kind of number in an under 1.5. But, I mean, they made it look academic. And I don't see why this fight would be any different.
Yeah. I mean, that should have been a max bet last night on that Braxton Smith under 1.5. Yeah, I mean,
Narco cop said he was going to bet his children's future on it, I think.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I figured Braxton. Yeah, I figured Braxton Smith was going to slow down, but I didn't think he was going to slow down after 60 seconds and then shoot a takedown, Parker Porter. You can't script that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think the under 1.5 is probably playable. It's juiced, but I'd really struggle seeing this fight get out of the first round. If it gets out of the first, it's probably going to finish shortly after as well. The fight won't start round 3. It's going to be even juicier, but maybe that's a good parlay piece, because if this made it to round 3, my jaw would just be dropped.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, this thing is this is going to be a really fun main event. Great way to end off this card. Not the highest level card, but definitely a lot of fun fights.
Yeah, it's a really solid fight card outside of the Mandy Bohm fight, but hopefully she pulls out by fight time. We don't have to watch it.
Oh, God, that is just so bad. Mandy Bohm is the worst, dude.
Yeah. Terrible. So, all right, Weezy, we did it. We made it through it. All 13 fights. All that's left is letting people know they can find your plans for this week for some content. We have this week, and then we have next week, and then we get a well-deserved, well-needed week off after grinding week in and week out.
Yeah, man, I really need this week off. And then after getting rinsed last night, that didn't help either. So looking to bounce back this week and get another 2-week winning streak here under our belts before the week off. You can find me on the MMA Engine YouTube channel tomorrow, 1 hour before Clint goes live here on Pub Sports Radio for Probability. We'll give you a data-driven look into all the time props on this card. I'm about to put together that prop template now. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy, where I'm doing content every week, doing a full card breakdown, giving out parlays, doing a little bit of Ask Weezy, and some prize picks content will be coming up soon. So keep an eye out for that. And then as always, right here on Pub Sports Radio for Stat Diggers, the DFS show, the watch along on Saturdays. Let's all stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC North CAC, and good luck on all your bets this week.
Let's do it. Yeah. I made a lot of bad bets last night. Very fortunate to come away with a winning night. Gotta clean some things up. I gotta shout out Kennedy Nzechukwu for not finishing Devin Clark in the first. I'm glad he waited till the second, because if he finished him in the first, it would have been a pretty bad night for me. But shout out to Kennedy for that. Yeah, guys, you can check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I just posted a main event breakdown. It was, I think, my shortest breakdown ever, because there's really nothing to say. I mean, either Rozenstruik knocks him out in 30 seconds or Almeida takes him down and subs him. But if you want to check that out, go check it out. And then I'll be posting my full card breakdown and prediction video sometime tomorrow. All the tape is done. All that I have to do is just hit record and break down the fights. And then, yeah, probability tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, Weezy, because there's a lot of violent spots sticking out. Yeah. And I think we're due for some violence, man. We had a little bit of violence last night. The early prelims, they delivered. But the main card, there wasn't any violence outside of Yan Xiaonan randomly starching Jessica Andrade. I think we're due for some violence this card, Weezy.
I think we are too. These big cages, Brady, we get caught in that trap so often. There's so many small cage fights that when you actually get that live crowd, you're saying, oh shit, we're going to get all these finishes. But the big cage matters. It allows people to be able to move a little bit more. It reduces the amount of places where you can corner your opponent. So I try to be careful about the violent spots, but I did hit on the Holmes violence and the Braxton Smith violence and didn't get caught. And, I told you that we had that number one ever analytics play was the over 2.5 in the Jordan fight. And I still couldn't get to it because I had no idea what to expect from Kron Gracie there. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, man. Let's find the spots, put in the work, and keep our powder dry for the week after that too, because there will be other spots then.
Yes, sir. Happy Mandy Bum fight week, everybody. Enjoy the card and enjoy your week. And catch us throughout the week. We're gonna be doing plenty of content, plenty of shows. So leave a like on your way out. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We'll talk to you guys soon. Best of luck. Talk to you later. See you.
See you.